Welcome to the Seller Roundtable e-commerce coaching and business strategies with Andy Arnott and Amy Wees.
And what about the other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately, Tim, is like bundling, right? Like in the new world order, as I'm calling it, there's going to be a lot of things that your product right now standalone might not be super useful, but maybe if you bundle it with something else that people are going to use a lot, and bundling, I mean, like not something that's very closely related to your products. That's something I've been thinking about too. I mean, is that something that you see in retail, or do people just sell their stuff, as is and focus on the one SKU or few SKUs?
Yeah, bundling doesn't work as well in retail for a couple of reasons. One, you don't have enough copy to really sell the bundle and the value of the bundle. People a lot of times don't get it, and there's not enough room on the package to really create that whole story about why I'm bundling these products together. So there's a little bit of an education gap that you can really dive down, take a deep dive into on Amazon. You got your extended content and all that stuff that you can talk about it. But in retail, not as much. Not only that, but in a bundle, a lot of products are somewhat hidden. And so it's hard to really see what's in there. And, I might want to rip that package open and pull stuff out. Whereas online, this is what you get. This is what you get. This is what you get. So I think bundling works a lot better on online than it does in brick and mortar retail, except for maybe Costco. But Costco doesn't necessarily want to bundle different products. They just want to sell more of that same product. So you might have 3 of the same item in a package or 4 of the same item. You don't want to, the other thing too, is you don't want to kill sales because somebody doesn't want something in the bundle.
Yeah, that makes sense. So to get into big box, you have to be able to sell your product, pitch it. How would you pitch it to buyers, and how would you pitch it virtually via like a web conference, since that's kind of what we're used to right now?
I'm so glad that you asked that question. Actually, yeah. So I was thinking, as everybody started to go home and go online, my business has been around, like I said, 11 years. I've been pitching my products and services via video conference for 11 years, before Zoom was even invented. And over that time, I figured out what works virtually and what doesn't work. Like right now, you're doing a couple of things, right? So you're checking your screens, you're doing this. I can see your eyes are looking down, you're checking comments and stuff like that. If you were a buyer, I would lose focus now, and I would struggle to sell you because I know that you're not focused on me. And this is where people will literally fall down in a video pitch situation. And so I just created a course. It's only $39. It goes on pre-sale tomorrow, on how to pitch your products via video conference, because there are some key differences. Like, one is validation. In a video pitch, it's more important 2 or 3 times during that pitch to validate with the person you're talking to make sure. So I might say, Andy, does that make sense? And now you shook your head. So now back, we're engaged. Whereas I might never have to validate you if we were in person, because we would be talking directly to each other. But on video, you can guarantee that a buyer in their office is going to have their email open. They might have their chat window open, and then you're up here in this little corner, and you have to fight with all the different things that they're looking at on their screen other than you. And so, distractions are a key thing. What's going on behind you? We've seen that a lot in all these experts that they have on the news, that they're now at home. You see all the crap behind them. I'm like, dude, did you look behind you to see what's in the view of the screen? It's just, there's all kinds of things. So what I've done is I've taken my normal pitch class, and then I added all the cool things for doing it via video to create this course that you can probably go through in a day. But I think a lot of people are going to start pitching via video. Like, for instance, Canton Fair, it just got announced that April Canton Fair is happening virtually. ECRM is moved completely to an online virtual platform. Every single person that goes to ECRM is going to have to pitch to a buyer, just like we're doing right now on a video platform.
That's really interesting, Tim. I know probably our listeners aren't sure what ECRM is. So can we explain first what ECRM is, and then let's talk about these virtual trade shows now and how you need to be ready to pitch virtually.
Yeah. So, well, ECRM, effective EC, Effective Collaborative Retail Marketing, is a company that's been around 26 or so years. Their go-to thing over anybody else as a trade show company was that they put buyers and sellers together. So instead of going to a trade show where you watch people walk by and you're trying to get people to come into your booth, you could go to an ECRM event and literally have scheduled 30 to 45 face-to-face meetings with buyers over 2.5 days, guaranteed. So you already know your schedule ahead of time. You're going to meet every 10 minutes or every 20 minutes with a buyer. That's what made their platform so enticing, because there it is, ecrmmarketgate.com. So enticing. But what they didn't realize, and the vulnerability, and nobody could realize that a COVID-19 situation is, one, to do an ECRM event, you have to travel there. 2, it's held in a hotel. And 3, there's large groups. So a trifecta of shutdown has basically literally stopped what they're doing. But what did they do? Within weeks, they've ramped up an online platform. And if you want to know how if retailers are interested in still buying, they've had thousands of retailers already sign up to be part of these virtual pitch ECRM, we used to call ECRM session. Now they're going to be virtual sessions. And so they've already had thousands of buyers sign up to be part of this because they want to still see new products.
And what about sellers? So does that give, I know ECRM is kind of expensive to attend. So what does that mean for sellers? Can I get into ECRM for a better price now? Is there more opportunity for me?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I think ECRM could be considered a good outlay of money, but it's not expensive. So if you go to the Houseware show or the Pet Expo, you add up your flights and your hotel and your expenses and all your stuff at your booth, you're going to get around the same price. But to answer your question, yes, virtual ECRM sessions are much less expensive because they took the hotel out, they took the travel out, they took all the food out, all these things. And it just will be you sitting in your chair with your product, talking to buyer after buyer after buyer after buyer, all in one day in the comfort of your own home. They're going to be in the comfort of their own office. You'll have a moderator, which is a ECRM customer relationship, CSR, helping moderate that. I've always thought it's the future of big trade shows. Being able to access a buyer face to face via video conference, so that they don't have to spend a day traveling and a day traveling back and have all this out of pocket time, I think is going to be a new way that we're going to be talking and dealing with buyers. I think that retailers right now were the first to pull their buyers out of travel. Before there was even a travel issue, retailers pulled their buyers because they could not afford to have a whole buying team get down sick or anything like that. And so I think they will also be slow to let their buyers back out. And so how do you get access to them? This is how.
So I think it's really, really important for Amazon sellers, especially e-commerce sellers that have brands that they're ready to expand into retail channels, either online or into brick and mortar. I think it's really important for them to understand the importance of being able to pitch. Because if you have a product, I mean, how important is that, Tim, to be able to communicate what is awesome about your product to a buyer? And what do you see is the big thing that people struggle with when it comes to trying to go from where they were just online before, kind of writing their own product listings or getting all of that hired out, and now they're trying to talk to a buyer? I think a lot of people stumble. And what are those stumbling points? What are the important parts of pitching?
Yeah, well, I don't think that they know that they stumble. I think that in the end, a lot of times they think they crushed it. And we saw it firsthand, when we did the pitching seminar and the pitch off during the Inspire conference. The first thing that people do when they try to pitch their product is they make it all about the product and all about them. This is my product. I developed it. Look what I did. This is all about me and my product. Pitching and selling is very rarely about you, and it's very rarely even about your product. It's always about the needs of the person you're pitching it to. So in a pitch, you have to take them into account. What do they want? What do they need? And how does my product fit into that? I can't just talk about how great my product is, because maybe those things that are great about it don't help that buyer accomplish the things that they're trying to accomplish. And so I think one of the best things that you could do is get out of your own head and put yourself in the buyer's shoes, and say, what do they want? Well, they want margin. They want increased sales. They want diversity. They want unique products with unique things that nobody else has. So when you're talking about your product, fit it into those parts of things. Fit it into things that you know that they're going to be interested in. Don't, everybody wants to put in their buyer deck, which is a presentation that you present the buyer so they have an understanding of your product. They always want to put, oh, well, back in 2013, I had this thought when I was driving, and about this is a huge problem, and they write that in their deck. Well, buyers, they don't care about that. They want to know when your product started. Yeah, of course. Maybe they want to know a little bit about your story, but they really are self-serving. They have a job to do, and it's not about them being big brother and wanting to crush you. It's just they're trying to do their job. Their job is to get the best product at the best price that will sell off their shelves and provide good experiences for their customers. So let's try to give them that, show them how our product will do that. And maybe that will tie to some of the cool things about your product. Hopefully.
I love that you're focused on what the customer needs are and how the product solves them, because even on Amazon, that matters. I'm doing a listing optimization masterclass right now, and that is what people are noticing immediate differences when they change their wording and they change their photos to focus on how their product meets the need. And it just really, it makes an immediate difference in their sales conversions when they're able to show that, instead of, like you said, like, who cares if it's stainless steel? Like, why is it good for the customer? Why would customers need this product? So that's so awesome for people to focus on, both online and when they're talking to buyers. So Tim, how is everything going with you lately with business? I know a lot of us are trying to stay motivated. And on this podcast, we always ask our guests how they stay motivated, what kind of books they're reading, what kind of podcasts they're listening to. What about you in this time, Tim? What are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you doing in your business to stay motivated?
Yeah, well, honestly, my business hasn't slowed down at all. So I don't have to do much to motivate myself because I'm super busy. I have had the opportunity, though, in what I call this pause, to read a couple things. Right now, what I'm reading is, I can't think of the title, but I'll tell you. Hold on one second. It's I know we have all kinds of times for me to look up stuff on my iPad, right? It's called Get Your Life Back by John Eldredge. And so I read a chapter of that every day. I have a little bit of time in the morning to get a devotion in if I want to. We've been, my wife and I have been walking together. Normally I walk by myself, but we've been getting out walking together. And I see a ton of people out walking, which is good to see. People need to get out. And so they're walking. That's been helping a lot. But a big focus on my business recently has been coaching. And so I've had more coaching than ever before. And people are responding well to that. That motivates me. Helping people solve problems is motivating me. I've been literally for the last week struggling to launch this pricing class. And every time we think we got it launched, there's like well, how do they do this? Or how do they do that? And it's so finally, I feel like we just birthed it. And then recording the other, how to pitch via video conference, has been a big focus of mine for two reasons. One, it allows me to add to people, but I want to be able to, what motivates me is giving people things that I know that will help them in the way things are going to be in the future. And so, things I think have been going good. I'm positive about, of course I'm devastated. Every day we talk about the death toll of people like it's now just a number, and it's either going up or it's going down, and it's either a percentage is changing. And so I do try to pause every day and realize that those are real people losing their lives, and it's devastating. But I think what would be even more devastating if we're not learning anything, we're not changing in any way based on how this is happening. So I try to remain perspective. I try to talk face to face with people now instead of just over the phone. Let's get on FaceTime. Let's get on Zoom. We had a full family Zoom meeting on my wife's side of the family, 42 people. I finally had to mute everybody. I muted the whole group. And then I just interviewed family members one at a time because they're all Greek. It's the only way to get, otherwise it was just like, people just yelling. It's like my great big fat Greek wedding on Zoom. It was, it was crazy. So I muted everybody and then I would just unmute one person. Hey, tell me what's going on. And that's how we had to roll it out. It really wasn't like a family meeting. I felt like I did 40 interviews.
I think a lot of us are really enjoying Zoom for different reasons. I know my daughter Chanel just had her 13th birthday the other day. And obviously during COVID, you can't really have people over, but we did a Zoom thing. And it was cool because family members that we wouldn't invite to a birthday party because they live, across the country and wouldn't be able to come anyway, they were there on the Zoom. And so, it was really cool. And it kind of brought to our attention like, hey, there's ways to connect with people that we normally don't get a chance to connect with. And you kind of reserve that time to like actually go there. But we're kind of learning through Zoom too, that there are definitely some benefits. So my daughter really liked it. She was like, wow, I just really liked the Zoom birthday party. So it was,
to Andy's point, I think things are changing. I think there's things that people will never go back to doing the same way. And we should mention too that, I've talked to a lot of people that are, I don't know if I want to go on a Zoom call because I hear it's unsecure. There's all kinds of ways to secure your Zoom calls, create a password, admit people one at a time. I think they made this big mountain out of the fact that some people publish their Zoom IDs in social. And so it allowed people just to jump on their calls. But in reality, when you get on a Zoom call with me, I have to admit you if you're not on my list, and you have to know the password. And I change that every week. So even if you got my Zoom information last week, that password would be different this week. And so you wouldn't be able. So feel comfortable, people, using Zoom, getting on Zoom. It's still a great platform. It's the only one I know that can accommodate as many people as you want and still be pretty stable.
So Tim, the good analogy to that is like a couple of years ago, Chipotle had that big food scare, right? And like a week or two after, my wife was going to Chipotle. And we're like, yeah, we're totally going to go to Chipotle. Now's the time to go because they just had that scare. They're going to have the cleanest, best food on the planet, right? Because they're under a microscope. And it's the same thing with Zoom. I don't know if you noticed, but the interface and the encryption, like they've rolled out, so like in the last few weeks, they've just been fast and furious rolling out all these updates and things like that. And it's still, to me, it's the go-to tool. And honestly, I mean, what are you sharing on Zoom that, I guess if you're doing a business to business, private meeting, but then your link isn't shared, so nobody should be able to get that. I mean, they could probably brute force it if they wanted to, but yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. But I agree with you completely. One thing I wanted to mention is we were talking books before. So last night when I was shipping till midnight, I had my Audible on, which I love to do. When I'm doing something that I have to, that I don't necessarily enjoy thoroughly, even though I actually kind of like shipping. It's like, for somebody who works on his computer all day, it's kind of like building a house, right? It's like working with my hands, so it's kind of fun. But last night when I was shipping, I was listening to a book called Unfuck Yourself. Pardon the French, but that's what it's called. Get out of your head and into your life. It's by Gary John Bishop. And if nobody's, or if you haven't heard about it or check it out, it's really good. It's all about getting out of your head, the little voice in your head that tells you can't do things. And, it makes yourself wrong for all these different things. And Tim, you mentioned one of your clients, breaking through a bunch of roadblocks. That's a lot of the premise of the book. It's just steadfastness and just keeping with, you're always going to have these issues that come up, and it's just a frame of mind, whether you're going to push through them and get to the next level, or if you're just going to give up. So it's a highly recommended. And the guy who does it, the author is Scottish, and he does his own voice, which is awesome. I love when authors do that. It's a little hard to understand, but I'm I have roots, Scottish roots, so I always like listening and seeing Scottish stuff. But it was a little hard to understand at some point, but it's an awesome book. So just wanted to throw that in there.
I think fuck is the new sex word. When I worked at Barnes and Noble, you could put the word sex on any book and it would sell, no matter what you were trying to mean that. And so, yeah, fuck is the new sex on
It's
books.
Gary Vee. We can thank Gary Vee for that one, right? He normalized
Right.
it. Yeah, I hear more kids running around, dropping the F-bomb these days. So unfortunately, I think it's just the nature of the beast.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you so much, Tim. Anything else you wanted to mention before we go? I think you kind of mentioned, where people can find you, the podcast, things like that. Let people know where they can reach out and get a hold of you.
Yeah, so tlbconsulting.com has everything. You can reach my podcast there. You can reach all my courses under the courses tab there. You can reach out to me. You can book a coaching call. Everything happens on tlbconsulting.com. The podcast is also available on, I don't know, any platform that you would, Spotify, Apple, whatever, all the different platforms. But I appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate the ability to talk about these things. I know people are a little unsettled and wondering what's going to happen. I don't think anybody really has a crystal ball, but I do talk to retailers every day. They're all still pretty optimistic about coming out of this in good shape, and they want to see your products. They want to see what people have out there.
Everything's going to be all right, people. Just have a good attitude. Create it in your mind.
You definitely gave us some great things to think about today, Tim, and some interesting new ways to think about communicating with retailers and pitching them and growing. So, and it seems like you got some pretty good things going on. So we'll definitely get over to tlbconsulting.com and check them out.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again next week. Always Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. If you haven't yet, please rate, subscribe, all that good stuff on iTunes and all the platforms that we're on. We really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for live Q&A and bonus content after the recording at sellerroundtable.com. Sponsored by the ultimate software tool for Amazon sales and growth, sellerseo.com and amazingathome.com.